Hey everyone, I'm so excited to be here. Welcome back. We are Pole on the Call. I am Cris Rivers.
And I'm Mandy Mac.
We are here with the incredible and inspiring pole coach and entrepreneur, Colleen Jolly.
Hello.
Yay! Thank you so much for being here with us and for being willing to share your story and all the amazing things that you do for the pole world.
Yes.
Absolutely. I love talking about pole dancing. Two pole dancers. So yes, it's perfect.
Yes.
We always learn so much, and I can't wait to learn about you. It's an honor. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Uh, so we'll get started with our always first question. What got you into pole? How did that journey begin?
Pretty randomly. I had a friend who really wanted to try pole, and so she found the studio, found the class, and we went. And she actually could like do things, and I couldn't even like hold on to the pole at all. I was like, I just couldn't. I had no grip strength or anything. Um, and I don't know, there was something about it that we just decided it was going to be like our thing. So once a week we would go to brunch and we would go to pole. And then she kind of lost interest and well, I did it. So it was a pretty like random, just like, why not? And then here we are.
That's
That
awesome.
I know. Do you two ever talk about it? Like, look at your first time and now look at where you are now that you continued.
Well, it's a funny story with that friend. She went through kind of a metamorphosis and got very puritanical. And so pole dancing really didn't fit with her worldview anymore.
Mm.
So we don't talk, but Facebook tells me that she, has a nice life, and that's great for her. But yeah, just sometimes people go through those metamorphoses, and yeah. But it was I'm very grateful to her though. She brought me to pole dancing, something I probably wouldn't have tried, and she taught me how to blow dry my hair.
I
So
love it.
props.
This is yourself. Can you do you mind going into when you started pole dancing and when you decided to start getting into the business aspect and teaching and everything?
I run businesses before, so I came to the folk, industry being an entrepreneur. I ran a visual communications company. We had offices here in the US and then in the UK. I ran all of our international business. So I was traveling to Australia and South Africa and Germany and, all this stuff. And so I'm really into business, I guess. And with pole, we had started taking classes, and then there was a local competition had happened. And so we went to the local competition, and I don't know. I can't resist when something doesn't feel like it's working right. I can't resist like not wanting to help. So I would like taking notes during the competition of like, this could be run better, or like the studio we were at, I'm like, I think this could be better, or this could be better, this could be better. So I just was starting to go down that path of like, what, if I owned a studio, if I owned, like, what could I do? And an opportunity came up to be involved with a franchise of pole studios. And so I became essentially a franchisee for a location. And it all went horribly wrong. I mean, just fucking, it's just, I think there was a lot of good intention. I want to believe that. I want to believe in the good in people. And there was just a lot of like misfeasance, like accidental badness instead of malfeasance, like intentional badness. Anyway, the franchise blew apart. The location I was in a gym, and that gym, the people who owned it, they got divorced, and the new owners were like, no pole dancing. And at the same time, this franchise thing was sort of falling apart too. So I said, okay, maybe I don't do this pole studio thing anymore. And all these things happened. This was like a very busy 2014. And at about the same time, there was an opportunity for me to take over PoleCon. The previous owner had decided they didn't want to do PoleCon anymore. And so I said, well, I'm really good at running things. That's kind of what I do. So I purchased PoleCon, and yeah, that was wild. So I just, so I just I came to pole with more of a business mindset. Like, I don't have a dance background. I don't have a movement background, but I like making things and collaborating and bringing people together. So it just kind of all came together.
That's incredible.
Such a shame that the franchise didn't work. That was a clever idea.
Yeah, it's tough. I know that there are some franchises, for instance, in Australia, that seem to be very successful, that there's lots of locations and the businesses seem to be thriving. I think it's just hard, to create a franchise that's expensive if you do it right for the franchisor and the franchisee, like, just tough. And, pole dancers, we're all very independent and creative, and trying to get everybody to go in one direction, I think can be hard.
Yeah. Right. I feel like there's been other people who have tried doing the franchise of pole studios too, and I myself haven't heard of any of them like that have come out and actually worked. It must be really hard.
Mhm.
But then also just being able to be like, oh, I'm going to take over PoleCon. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, I'm running this small little studio, and like I'm all over the place, but I can't imagine what it's like to be the manager of all of that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Spreadsheets. That's it. It's just lots and lots and lots of fucking spreadsheets. It's like the like popular meme for a while. It was like what like my parents think I do, what my friend think, like what I think I do, like what I actually do. Like, it's just me in front of a computer, spreadsheets and emails. And I'm like, oh my gosh, did you read the website? Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of spreadsheets. Yeah.
The secret is spreadsheets.
That's it. You too can own a pole business. All you need is a shit ton of spreadsheets.
It's so funny because I started a tracker of trackers for pole on the call. I was like, man, we have to use this. It's a spreadsheet of everything, and and it really does help. So I love that you brought that up. Thank you for sharing.
I know, that's why I can't teach the sexy stuff, because I'm like very practical. Spreadsheets. Okay.
I guess spreadsheets can be sexy too.
I mean, with the right attitude, like sexy, like there's a lot of ways you can take sexy. So yeah.
Yes.
Designer, yeah, cute, like, yes, proud of this spreadsheet. Add some color and graphs and everything.
Oh, I am very proud of these spreadsheets. They go from Google Forms, they feed directly into my spreadsheets. Oh,
Wow.
these are excellent spreadsheets.
Absolutely love that.
I think too, Cris, do you remember anyone else we've have interviewed that came from the business aspect first? And then, because I feel like you might be the first one, Colleen.
Oh.
Yeah. We're usually just dancers wandering into business going, what am I doing? But it's cool to see the perspective from the other angle. Like, you already had so much business experience that it was just normal for you to just keep going in that direction. Because that was honestly my biggest question. I was like, how do you do all of these things?
Spreadsheets. No. Lots of practice. I've been running businesses in some shape or form since 1999. So, in this country, in other countries, like, it's just different kinds of businesses. I've been served on boards, so from that perspective as well. So it's just been a lot of leadership roles in business, and really learned a lot of things the hard way.
I love it. And now you're sharing that with others as well, I believe. Would you like to go into that?
Yes. Yeah. When you were like, oh, it's dancers who wandered into business, my brain was like, that is my target market. Yes. I founded the IPIA, so the International Pole Industry Association in 2020, during the pandemic. And, I've done a lot of marketing help with some local studios and other businesses in the pole industry. And everybody was just sitting around during the pandemic, like, how do we make money? Is it safe? Like, what's the guidance? Like, there was no guidance, especially for something that was as specialized as pole. So I had thought for a long time about creating a resource for pole dancers, because most of the people that I know also are, amazing dancers and kind of decide, oh shit, I could make money doing this, and then need to figure that out. So I have a lot of experience with running associations. I used to be the CEO and president of an association for proposal management professionals, because there's an association for everything. So I have a lot of experience with associations. I've been, the CEO and president of a local arts nonprofit board, Capitol Hill Arts Workshop. I've done a lot of training in the board space. So anyway, so I thought an association would be great, because this way it could just provide resources, education, and, make connections and really help people focus in on that business stuff. So a lot of the resources on the website, poleassociation.org, are free. So most of them are free. And then to get behind the paywall and to actually become a member, then you get access to discounts that I've organized with all sorts of relevant pole businesses that pole dancers might need. So things like, equipment, you need to buy a pole. Cool, we got you. Like, you need to talk to an insurance guy. I got you. We just, new partner, they focus on, they're called Tits and Taxes. Dude, y'all need to talk to them next. They crack me up. Like, just that name. I heard the name and I was like, who? And they focus on helping strippers and sex workers do their taxes, right? Because taxes are complicated. And if you're earning a lot of money in cash, like, what do you do? What can you write off? And so they're a new partner for the IPIA. So again, this was my goal, is to just try to keep bringing resources and people together. So someone could just say, I'd like to create a pole studio. How the fuck do I do that? And they could go to the IPIA and go, well, how far apart should poles be? Or how do I figure out how many poles fit in a commercial business space? What is a budget for running a pole event? Like, all these things. And it's just all there for them to use.
I know I've definitely been on that site a million times. Thank you so much for all of the information you provided.
Yeah. Let's note, for those listening and watching, links to Pole Association will be below, and PoleCon as well. All the links will be below. Just note.
Yeah, we won't make you Google anything. Just click, 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 click.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love the Tits and Taxes. I've never heard of that. That is amazing that they're able to help strippers and people in that field. That's incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're new. They're a new company, and I just think that they're fantastic. And they're two folks, and one of them is going to be giving a presentation at this year's PoleCon. So I almost like browbeat him into it. I was like, please come to PoleCon. Please come tell people about taxes.
Yeah.
It's like I've seen people get on the wrong side of taxes and be audited. Like, how do you go through that? And so just knowledge is power, right? Like, the more information you can have, the better prepared you are for your business, for your life, whether you're a solopreneur, you're just running, virtual classes, or you've got some sort of brick and mortar somewhere. So
I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that, because I'm going through similar things now as I transition into entrepreneurship with the taxes, where I'm like, OMG, I done messed up my taxes and I don't know what I did.
No.
there are lots of resource posts on the IPIA about taxes. So definitely there, and then Tits and Taxes, because yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
I love it. Thank you so much for all that information. And you opened the doorway mentioning that they're coming to PoleCon. Would you like to go into other things happening at PoleCon this year?
Oh boy, what's not happening at PoleCon this year? We were growing really steadily until the pandemic. We were growing at about 20% attendee rate every year, and then the pandemic hit, and obviously, everything. And then I really wasn't sure what was going to happen, right? And we actually did a virtual PoleCon. We wound up hosting, because of the way that hotels work and contracts and laws kept changing. Anyway, we wound up having a PoleCon in 2021, which it would have been nice if we didn't, just because it was so challenging. And then a hurricane showed up in the middle of PoleCon, and that was very challenging. But since then, PoleCon has continued to grow. And so this year we're looking at, even more growth. So that means more people. There's more vendors. We added more vendor booths. There's more sponsors. There's the Pole Playground is going to be bigger this year. There's more pre-conference stuff to do. So people, want to come early and they want to do different teacher trainings or certifications. There's a ton of options. There's even a do-it-yourself pole jewelry workshop, which is really fun, run by Al the Rebel. She's a really amazing, I don't know if metallurgist is the correct term, but she does really cool stuff with like metal and acrylic. And yeah, so there's just a shit ton of things happening at PoleCon this year.
I love it, from dance to arts and crafts.
All goes together.
Yeah,
Yes.
people love it. Why not? Everybody's got different, like, it's like you pole dance and you do something else, so I always try to look and see when people pitch workshops and things, and I try to see like, oh, like we haven't done that before. Like I got a spam the other day and I had to read it twice because part of me was like, is this real? Because this would be super cool. They were like, we want to book your venue for our wedding. And I was like, a wedding at PoleCon? Like that would be really something, but it was a spam. So anyway, if you want to have your wedding at PoleCon, let's talk. Because why not? Why not?
That would, oh my goodness. Ideas out there for people. That's exciting.
Yeah, why not? I don't care, whatever.
Too funny. So with everything that's going on with PoleCon this year, what are, if I can ask, what are you most proud of from where it was to where it is now?
I'm most proud at the level of diversity and inclusion that we continue to have, and we continue to keep pushing that bar, right? To make sure that we are doing things that support the entire community. Now, the pole community is extremely diverse and tends to be, from a corporate perspective, on the bleeding edge of that diversity, equity, and inclusion concept. So I'm sure that there's going to be somebody who'd be like, I don't think you're very inclusive or diverse. And I'd be like, thank you for that. Please tell me, but please share that with me, because that is something I want to know. So one thing that we've changed this year, as a for instance, we've had gender neutral bathrooms since 2019. And you'd only know that if you went to PoleCon and you saw the signs, right? So sometimes I'm not really good at promoting my own copy, I guess. Like I really resist things like, we're the best pole convention in the world, I was like, oh, we were the first, we're the largest, but I'm not going to say we're the best, because I don't know. I don't feel like I should say that. But so this year, to continue to work, toward a more inclusive environment, we've made it contractually required that our workshop leaders refer to a group in a gender neutral term. So, which I know can be really, a lot of folks, there are many female presenting people in pole dancing. So there can be a real, common to walk into a room and be like, ladies, let's start the warm up. And, that's not very supportive for, for mask folks or for non-binary folks. So making that a requirement, not just you should, but you will, or you won't get booked again, was something that, which is another way that we're continuing to try to make things, more inclusive, get more people involved, get new people. Now to the other side of that is sometimes it's challenging when we have existing workshop leaders who, have an amazing perspective. They're great teachers. And in order to get new folks in, I make a decision not to rebook them or to rebook them for less workshops. And some folks get very upset about that, which on the one hand, I'm like, fuck, I don't want you to be upset. But on the other hand, I know that that's how much they care about this event and being a part of it and sharing with folks. So it's a constant balancing act to try to to give more people an opportunity to share their uniqueness with the greater community or outside of their local community. It's a, you know, it's a constant, like, how do we keep working with folks and listening to the community to say, yes, like, we hear you, we know, we want to be, you know, more reflective of the community. Help us understand how to do that, right? Like, I am a white lady. I am a cisgendered white lady. So I do not have a lot of lived experiences that some other folks might have. So if people can come and say, hey, ta-da, here's some ideas, I usually say, yes, let's implement them, or thank you for that. Here's some reasons why we can't, or we can't yet, or, you know, et cetera. So we do a survey every year. I read every survey. And I'm always looking for ways to continue making the event just, you know, more welcoming for everybody.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I feel like inclusivity is something all pole studios, pole businesses struggle with, finding that balance, giving everyone the opportunity to show their uniqueness. And it's refreshing to hear the honesty about it. And you should be proud because you have made it into a beautiful experience.
Well, thank you. I'm trying, you know, every year we try a little more, you know, to work with people and reflect. You know, I had somebody contact me once and said, you know, well, why isn't there, you know, there's all these different showcases. And so the showcases at PoleCon are divided broadly into like a demographic, you know, like Black Girls Pole or our Latin Heritage showcase, or a stylistic, you know, you dance in a contemporary way, you know. And I had somebody comment like, well, why isn't there XYZ demographic? And I said, well, you know, start it. Like, let's talk about it. Like, you know, so that's how a lot of these came to light. And so I actually wrote a whole blog, I like writing, on the PoleCon blog about where did these names come from? Because some people were just, they didn't like the name. They were like, well, I don't think that's the right name. I'm like, thank you for your feedback. Here's where it came from. Here are the people that were asked, you know, and at the time, like, this was an appropriate name. Should we change the name? You know, maybe, you know, maybe this is something that needs to be readdressed every so many years. Like, is this the right term? Some names are brand names, like Black Girls Pole. That's not my brand. That's not PoleCon's brand. That's a brand that we partner with to bring to PoleCon because they were already including, they're already doing an amazing job including that demographic. Dangerous Curves is another one. That was a plus size pole competition that existed about a decade ago. So, but many folks new to the industry don't maybe have that information. So that's why I decided to write it all down. I'm like, somebody needs to record this, write it all down. So we have an idea of like where this came from and then where we might go.
Thank you for sharing that, and like the challenges of like, you know, all of the things coming at you, and also trying to be open and you know, to everything as well. I know that's the naming of things has come up many times, and like renaming things, and it's really hard, like you said, for sometimes for people to know where they came from, and yeah, I guess just staying open, like you said, is the way to go. I can't imagine managing all of these things. Yeah. I'm just so in awe. Like I'm very inspired by all the things that you're able to do, and to still stay open, and, you know, always try to be improving, because I think that's really important.
I try to. Like, I would be lying if I didn't say there's some emails that I get and I'm like, you know, like, I would be lying if that wasn't my reaction, or like my initial is like, go fuck yourself, you know, and like delete. Thank you so much for the, so, but many people, I feel like if you kind of match energy, you know, with people, if you come at them like, well, fuck you, then they're going to be like, well, extra fuck you. But if you come at people and say, oh, I hadn't thought about that, then it kind of disarms people, and they're like, oh, like, you weren't doing that on purpose, like you know, you're coming from a different perspective. So I try to stay in that as much as possible. But like I said, there's definitely times when I have to like walk away from my desk.
Right? Oh my gosh, it took me such a long time, like as a business owner, to not react right away, and I'm still having a problem doing that every so often. But yeah.
Two. We've been talking shop for a while, so let's walk away and ask my favorite question. What is your favorite pole trick?
Oh, my favorite pole trick. It has got to be the bird of paradise. It's my favorite pole trick. Mostly because I'm really good at it and I got it like right away. Like all my weird body compensations line up for that move. So I learned it as like, not like a baby poler, but still pretty early in my pole journey. And the teacher didn't expect any of us to get it. And I was like, did I do it? She was like, oh, fuck, you did it. So that has become I was like, it's in every routine. Like, this is my jam. So yeah, bird of paradise.
Love it. That's my favorite too.
OMG, did you have to train for it, or have you always been like flexible for that?
No, yeah, no, totally hate me. Because I have like really flexible shoulders. And it just was one of those things that just clicked. So I've made it better over time, but I really literally got it the first try and everybody else was like dying. And I was like, okay. Like, and sometimes that just happens. And then there's other things like getting at my handspring was like a 10-year journey of like, oh, this is so hard because my shoulders were so flexible. Like I wasn't stabilizing well. So any like two-handed pull move was just really hard. So I kind of leaned into the flexibility thing. I was like, oh, I'll just do more of this because it works.
Oh my gosh, that's literally how my shoulders are too. It took me quite a long time. I finally have Aisha now. It's like, okay. But yeah, Bird of Paradise, it took me like the first or second try as well. But then we love it forever. What is
Yes.
your least favorite trick?
I'm gonna have to say the Gennaro. Mostly because the stupid it comes and goes, and I'm really into body mechanics, and I cannot figure out why this stupid thing comes and goes, and it'll be fine one week and then disappear, and then it comes back and then disappears, and then inevitably a student's like, I want to learn the Gennaro. I'm like, I don't want to learn the Gennaro. So. So I'm gonna have to give it to that just because it's a fussy move. Like other moves, I'm like, yeah, I got it, it's fine. But or like maybe you don't like it because it's uncomfortable, but the Gennaro just here one day, gone the next. Yeah. Do you have that too? Because you're laughing. Like you
Yes, actually. And the Gennaro is like the number one trick that dancers love to hate, I think.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Stupid Gennaro.
Right. I love it though. It's like really beautiful and it feels like it'd be good, but I don't know, my butt is just, it doesn't want to stay.
I competed it once. And so I'm like, I've got a video of being on stage. I got a photo of being on stage. That's it. Like it doesn't, we're done.
Well, do you want to share some of the pole competitions that you've been in besides well, is there a pole competition at PoleCon? I've actually never been. Oh, okay. It's just showcase.
No.
That's awesome.
PoleCon is non-competitive on purpose. Non-competitive on purpose. Yeah. I think people need a break from competitions and an opportunity just to share, whatever they want to share and not have to feel like they're being judged or, and you can have that camaraderie with people, not the like, oh, it's nice to be competing with you, but really slip, like, it's different. So I really prefer the non-competitive for PoleCon. But that said, I have done way too many competitions. I added it up and it was like, I don't know, 30 or something. I've done so many competitions over the years, most of them pre-pandemic. There's a lot of like, because I'm not a dancer, there's a lot of that imposter syndrome of like, I work with all these amazing, dancers and stuff all the time to be like, oh, I just want to win, to be like, look, I am, head blah, blah, blah of the pole blah, blah, blah championships. And yeah, so far, no. I have a lot of second places. But no first places. That's not true. Once in a bar competition, once I did win first place. I was shocked as shit. I should not have won. I slipped. The pole turned on spin when it was supposed to be on static. Like I should not have won, but somehow I won. And I was like, okay.
Too funny. Will you continue to keep competing until you get that win?
I'm hoping I've got a competition coming up and I'm just there's definitely part of me that I want to be like, just give it to me and I'll go away. Like just let me have this so I can stop. But I competed during the pandemic, you know, some of the virtual shows. I competed last year. I did, you know, it's just I find competing very hard on my body, especially teaching a lot and then, you know, competing. And I find that it hasn't made me feel better about myself. Like it didn't do the achieve, you know, like, oh, I thought this would make me feel better. Nope, it hasn't. So I'm like, well, maybe I'll just like, I love performing. I love being in front of a crowd. You know, I performed for Snoop Dogg twice. So I love doing that kind of stuff. Like I love, you know, that experience. I love building routines. I love costumes, but that idea of being judged that you're always, you know, up against your compatriot, it's just not something that I love. And I respect everybody who does that and makes that choice. And I coach competitors. Like I said, I've competed like a bajillion times. It's just something that I would like to stop doing.
But cannot.
I appreciate that answer. I hate what competing does to my body as well, and I'm taking a break. Kudos to you for keep trying because oh my.
Yeah, it's a lot. I have them all listed on my website, and because I added them up, and I was like, God, this is a lot. But it's cool though to look back and see, like, you know, when you're like a baby polar, and then how you progressed, and like the strength, the control, the confidence, like you know, it's a lot of the same moves, but it's really not being able to do the move once. It's being able to do it 1,000 times and really understanding the move in your own body. And so I do think competing can hone that for people. Like it can make you practice a lot. Like if that is your goal to get, you know, get really good at a move, except the fucking Gennaro, because I got really good at it and then it went away anyway. But most moves, like there's my bird of paradise, my jade, like all, you know, there's a nice, beautiful, like flatness that's like the desired shape. So, so that's a nice, like, oh, like, good job, Colleen, for doing that. But it's, yeah, I just find it emotionally probably not worth, the struggle.
I totally feel that too.
Yeah.
But I also want to compete, I guess, once again. But it's so hard on my body. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do you use any specific hand and body grip? Like a dry hands or
Yeah, I'm ITAC all the way. I'm an ITAC person. I'm actually very dry. And so when I first started pole dancing, I had no grip strength. Like I couldn't open jars, you know, I couldn't like at all. I would be like, fuck the pickles. So pole, like I couldn't hold on. Like that was the hardest thing. Like my friend who I started with, she was fine. And I was just like, woohoo. So tack was my saving grace. And I've actually been in competition situations with people who use dry hands because it's so common. And for me, dry hands makes it feels like water. It's so slick because I'm so dry. So I will actually notice if the pole cleaners have missed a spot in the pole because I'll just be like straight down. So I always tell pole cleaners, because I've done that job too. I'm like, you know, please just like squeaky clean, like as clean as you can get it before I go on stage. Because I like that's just, and I know some people like it dirty, some people got different preferences, and grip is so individual. Like, but I put ITAC everywhere. I put it in my hands, I put it in my body, like put that shit on everything.
yes. I like the ITAC mostly behind my knee pits because my knee pits don't like to stick at all in the winter. But
No, winter's tough.
yeah. Right. Do you find that you have to use different stuff in the summer than the winter, or it's usually the same all the way around?
It's it's changed for me. I went through a couple year period when I was competing all the time and I could not stick at all. Even with the ITAC during the winter for training. So I wound up using a product that doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. It was called Pole Smart. It's very similar to Dew Point. And so it's that kind of like glycerin spray. And so I would have to like bathe in that and then put the ITAC on top. And that helped, because otherwise I was like, well, shit, I'm gonna miss like 2 months of training, because I can't stick to the damn pole. But I haven't found that, I feel like it's okay. I have a portable heater that I will like put on my pole, and that helps in the winter, so it warms up.
Those portable heaters look so cool. I've always seen them, but I've never experienced them. It's nice to know that they work.
Mhm. Yeah, just put it right on.
We have a blow dryer.
Oh, there you go.
Well, what style of pole dance would you say is your favorite?
I like them all. I feel like I tend to be kind of a generalist. Like I like floor work, I like low flow, I like tricks. I try to dabble in different styles, like the Russian hard style, I think is like amazing, but my body doesn't really move like that, but it's amazing to try. I love dynamic movement. My body doesn't like that either, but I'm trying to I'm working on flips because my brain is like, no, we've tried so hard to stay on this pole and you want to come off of this pole. So I like to try different kinds of pole and then just different styles. I'll dance to anything. I don't really, I don't even notice the music much. Sometimes I post things in stories and people are like, I love your playlist. And I'm like, I have no idea what that was. I put on background music mostly for other people. I could just pull in silence. I don't know.
Too funny. Do you since you're generous with your style, what kind of classes do you like to teach?
I tend to teach a lot of tricks. I understand a lot of biomechanics and things, so I wind up working with people who are kind of solid intermediates and helping them tweak their understanding of technique. So it's like, okay, you can invert, but are you inverting in the most efficient way? Okay, you can do a leg hook, but you're doing that ooch, ooch, ooch. How do we not do the ooch? So I tend to teach, a lot of tricks, and then I tend to gravitate. A lot of folks who tend to have different body compensations or mobility issues tend to gravitate toward me, especially in the virtual space, which is great because I've got a lot of experience figuring that stuff out for myself. I had a motorcycle accident, 20 plus years ago, that shattered my right leg, so I had to learn how to walk again. And then, my body wackiness, no one really knew how to teach me. So I had a pole, so I kind of had to figure that out too. So I'm really good at helping people troubleshoot. So that's what I tend to do a lot of.
That's awesome.
And you still are doing the Bird of Paradise and that's incredible.
Yeah, pole's crazy. Sometimes you just have everything line up in just the right way and it works. So
I feel like pole has helped some of my past injuries become stronger, if that makes sense.
yeah, absolutely. I know a lot of folks who have used pole to help, almost as physical therapy and to help recover from chronic stuff, or, even just get them on the path to addressing chronic stuff, because the pole can kind of highlight some of that, which is sometimes bad, but really educational. So I think it's a really interesting way to figure that body stuff out.
Yeah, you're right. Pole does really force us all to really examine our own personal bodies because they're all different on the pole.
Mhm.
And you mentioned that you teach online. What studio is it? It's your studio, right?
Yeah, I teach, so I'm in the Washington, DC area. So I teach locally at Fit for Polars in Alexandria, and then My Body Shop, which is in Hyattsville, Maryland. And then I teach virtually on my own stuff. So if you go to mobilityforpole.com, we've got all sorts of stuff to help people with their mobility. I teach regular online mobility classes. I wrote the book, Mobility for Pole. I've got pre-recorded stuff, all sorts of stuff to help folks with that. But yeah, and I teach here out of my home studio with my dog.
And may I note again, links to everything she mentioned will be in the comments below if you are watching or listening.
Yay.
But how do you, if I may ask, how do you find the time? How do you manage time management? What advice tips do you give to people who want to do the same thing and are struggling with how to do it all?
Yeah, doing it all is really tough. I read a book that really helped change my perspective on things called Your Money or Your Life. I can't remember the author, but if you Google Your Money or Your Life, it's a really popular book. And the premise of the book was what you spend your time on. Like, so people will say things like, oh, family is the most important. And you're like, cool, your family is your most important thing. Respect that. But then people will spend all of their time working. And you're like, okay, you're spending all of your time working and none of your time with your family. Maybe there's some nuance there, but the book really made me go through some of those uncomfortable questions of like, what was I actually spending my time on? And how was that in conflict with the things that I said were important to me? And so it was from that book that we sold our house, we moved to a new house, we made like a lot of big financial changes to support more of like being able to do the things that we wanted to do, as opposed to being trapped doing things that we maybe didn't want to do, but maybe at some point made sense, but now at some point now doesn't make sense. So I guess for people who are trying to figure out how to like do it all, quote fingers, is figure out what that means to you, like what it really means. Like, are you doing this because it's important to you, or is it, like that being successful, again, quote fingers, is that being defined by somebody else for you? So I think figuring that out, and then what are you willing to trade? If you want to do all these things, you might be trading quality time with your family. You might be trading social time with your friends. You might, as teachers, I think, for instance, a lot of people go into teaching pole thinking, oh, I'm going to pole dance all the time. And it's like, actually, you will, but you won't be pole dancing for yourself. You'll be lesson planning. You'll be helping your students. Like, so if your goal is to pole dance for yourself, maybe being a teacher is not the right answer for you or for this moment in your life, so I would just encourage people to kind of do that deep dive and be really honest about like what they want, not what they think they should want. And then that will help them figure out how to spend their time.
I love that. They
Yeah.
just gave us a lot to digest. Maybe you used an app to spit everything in, but you are right. It really does matter to take that dive in to think about what you want. I wrote down the book, Your Money or Your Life.
Yeah. Right. That sounds like a
Yeah.
life-changing book. And then to have the courage to just like be like, okay, I definitely need to do this, and it's going to be a huge heart change, but it'll be worth it.
Mm.
Now I have goosebumps.
Yeah. Change is always hard, but it's because whatever you're choosing, even if it's not maybe what you want or what you love or whatever, it's still familiar, right? So anytime you do a change is really, really hard. So it's, there's maybe small ways to change, or like you don't have to do big giant things, but just getting that first clue in, and then all the details, what apps you use and what kind of spreadsheets you use, like there's a lot of variety there. Like I have a friend who's obsessed with project management tools, and she's like, what do you use? You're so organized. And I was like, I just make to-do lists. Like I don't have a big thing. And she was like, I hate you. That's so inefficient. And I'm like, well, it works for me. So yeah, I think you got to figure out what works for you on many levels.
The spreadsheets.
Yeah.
I love too that you also mentioned, like really taking a look at what you want right now, because like mentioning like that doesn't have to stay that way. It could, you could have short-term goals, long-term goals, and just as long as you are putting yourself on those paths.
Mhm.
Yeah, love it. Thank you so much for sharing that and all that advice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of advice, do you have any pole dance philosophies or advice to share?
Yeah, I like to tell people, there's no wrong way to pole dance. There's just endless variation where it's like, oh, well, I didn't do the same move that you did, or mine doesn't look like yours, or who cares? Like it looks like yours, and that's awesome. So, there's no right way, there's no wrong way. Like just, as long as you're not hurting yourself, you're not hurting other people, or if you do, maybe you learn from it. And you could just do whatever feels good for you.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. We all need to remember that there is no right way to pole dance, and we
Mhm.
need to showcase opportunities so we can demonstrate that rather than competition.
Yes. Right. I
It's
love
like,
that you shared that advice too, because it's like for beginner pole dancers, a lot of times they will try to copy you exactly. And
Yeah.
as long as they're having fun, that's right.
Yeah, you're having fun. Who cares? Like you could be sitting on your couch right now, or you could be like learning a cool skill or getting out of your house or meeting new people or feeling more comfortable in your body or wearing a cute outfit, whatever. There's a million things that are about the pole experience that have nothing to do with like, oh, beast mode, Iron X, like, okay. And if that's your jam, that's fucking cool too. Like, it's really just about everything is valid. That's the thing.
it
Love
is.
it.
And ourselves. Ooh, Mandy, you want to ask one?
Yeah, I was wondering, because we kind of touched on like the short-term and long-term goals, but do you have any maybe goals for the next 5 years within your pole career that you want to share that you can share?
I have a list for that. I have and a spreadsheet and I mean, I guess short term is just, make sure PoleCon happens. I always have a lot of nightmares before the event, like, and they've already started. Like there was like weird nightmares where you're like, there was a flood or the stage didn't show up or like you can't find the photographer. Like all these things have actually totally happened. So like at some point in your nightmares, you have to like lucid dream yourself and be like, fuck you, this all happened and it was still okay. So have PoleCon happen. Short term, the IPIA is doing a survey for the pole industry financial survey. So that closes at the end of March. So that is something just to, encourage more folks to take that survey. And then all that data is shared so that people can make, solid maybe not solid. Solid is a strong word. Informed is a better word. Financial decisions within the pole industry. Like you understand how much to charge or how much to expect for things or get an idea of like, oh, people are spending $1 million on marketing every month. I'm not spending $1 million on marketing. Like maybe that's something I should consider. I don't know. I do have another competition coming up, so I can't wait till that's over. And it's funny. I was really resistant to all these competitions, and then Pole Theater is back. And Pole Theater is one of the competitions that I love the most because I've done a lot of competing in pole comedy. I appreciate that it's about the story, not just the moves. And so when it came back, I was like, shit, I gotta do this stupid thing. And I am the only competitor that has returned. Like the last one was 2017, I think, or 18, something like that. And I am the only competitor from that time who's come back. So I'm like, oh my God, all these young kids, and here's this old lady. I'm like, just give it to me. Just give it to me so I can stop. Definitely feeling all my gray hairs. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. These kids today with their flips and shit. So those are my short-term goals.
I love it. Too funny. I can't wait to see that whole theater. When they are back, I've been seeing a lot of posts about them lately.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm excited. I know the organizer and she's very organized. So I'm excited to see how it all goes off.
Man, I'm really sad to see that imposter syndrome never goes away. You're gonna be great. Like, it's gonna be awesome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I know it's and I think that, just to give a shout out, because I think it is true. Like everybody, to make a broad statement, everybody is struggling with something, whether it's an imposter syndrome or they've got stuff in their family or their own life or their kids or their aging parents or their pet, like they got a hard job, whatever. Everybody's got something. So if you can come at life with that compassion for other people, I think it makes everything just so much easier. People don't mean to be dickheads, like, or assholes. Sometimes it's just their survival mechanism, right? And they're doing this because they're hurt or afraid or, whatever. So I try to, especially when I get a really like agitated email. I'm like, wow, this person must have had a really terrible fucking day. Like, I'm going to take a minute, get my shit together so that I don't add to their terrible fucking day.
Yes. Right. I think on the top of my to-do list, it always says lead with love. And I have to read it every single time. It is hard, but we must do that.
Mhm.
I had an evaluation for my muggle job, and they told me I need to start leading with curiosity.
That's another good one, though. Yeah.
So it's funny that you both bring it up because I'm also working on that.
Yeah, it's hard. I feel like these are skills that are going to be, it's like you can always make your invert, better, cleaner, sharper, feel better. You can always, work on your mental health and how you approach life. It's going to be a lifelong journey, at least for me. So,
Yes.
Yes, and I can't wait to see what's in store for you in 5 or 10 years.
Yes.
Which leads me to our next question. Where do you hope to see yourself in 5 to 10 years with everything?
I don't fucking know. That's not entirely true. I have some goals or some things that are, like at some point, like you've been in business for a while, you start making, like revenue goals, like, oh, it would be great if, we hit this milestone or that milestone. It'd be great if, I had this many more members of the IPIA, because quantitative goals can be kind of easy, right? In some ways. But like looking back, like 10 years ago, I had no idea I would be here, so I try to, like you're saying, like curiosity, like allow for serendipity, that I have a whole fucking career now that was a lark. That was some random fucking thing as friends I don't even talk to anymore was like, let's go to pole dancing. And I was like, what? Like, you're serious? Like, you want to do what? And that has now become like my career, my identity, like it pays all my bills. Like, what? So I don't want to box myself in. I just kind of want to be open and see and just keep like moving the dial and then see what happened. And even in the past 10 years, I've worked with a lot of different companies. I've helped a lot of people specifically in the pole industry, through things like the IPA, but then also more directly with other, like I'm the body model in the pole anatomy book, which was a cool experience. I've worked a lot with Liquid Motion, helping them grow their business. So I've like touched on a lot of things. So it's, I'm just really open to that serendipity, like I go next. So.
Love it. And going with the flow.
Yeah.
I'm trying, not really a go with the flow person, but I'm trying.
Here's to another 5 to 10 years at doing what you love.
Mhm.
Yes. And do you have anything that you like to do in your free time? Do you have any free time?
I do not. I'm not. I do not. Free time and self-care are things that are really a challenge for me. I will just work all the time. So, especially with a lot of things being virtual, it's very easy to like, I'm just going to answer a couple of emails on my phone. Oh, I'm just going to do a couple, like, I'm going to take the dog for a walk, but I should really respond to this, or I should, so no, I don't have any free time, but I'm aware of the problem finally. And I'm, thinking about having a social life.
I love it. We're all always trying to grow in some way.
There you go. There you go.
Right. Knowing is half the battle. Oh my gosh. What kind of besides having a social life, what other kinds of self-care would appeal to you? So I'm always interested in finding new forms of self-care. I tried painting my nails, but then I peeled it off.
I love reading, and I really got off the reading bandwagon for like, I don't know, like a long time, like 8, 9, 10 years, something. And I discovered that you can take out Kindle books from the library. I didn't know if anybody else knew this. I didn't know this until like a year ago. And because I was like, oh, you have to buy Kindle book, you buy books. And like, I'm not saying I buy books, but I read very quickly. So I'm like, I just want to like not have to buy all these books. And you can just write on your phone or on the internet, just the library, boop, 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 Kindle book, ta-da. So I try to read for, at least 15 minutes every day, sometimes longer. Sometimes it's like just a fun, what's like, like fairy smut, like I'll read my fairy smut books, or I'll read like a business book or a health book. I post a lot of book recommendations in my stories for the business health book stuff. But yeah, I try to read every day. That's one thing I've been trying to do.
Thank you
I
for the
love
shout out to the library.
I did not know that. I learned something new. And it's refreshing that you said that because I also love reading and I've been struggling with the same thing. And it's been hard to just force myself to just take 5, 10 minutes here and just read something besides
Mhm.
anything else.
Yeah,
Right?
sign up for a library card for your public library. Most of it's all online, and then you can even get the Kindle app on your phone. You don't even have to have a Kindle. Like it's super easy. I set a timer. I'm like, I'm gonna read for 15 minutes, and I read, and the timer goes off. I'm like, all right, I gotta get up and do something else.
That's
I'm
awesome.
about to start doing that timer thing. I'm telling you, I have like hundreds of books that I haven't even touched yet that I bought. And I was like, I'm gonna read this, and it has not happened.
No, set a timer. Yeah, you can do
That's
it. I
really good
believe
advice. Right,
in
it's
you.
just 15 minutes.
It's just 15 minutes.
I,
You can
I,
even like combine, like if you like you got to go to the bathroom, right? You got your daily constitutional, take the book in there with you,
it
right?
is It's so funny that you said that.
Multitasking.
Oh,
That's what I'm doing
multitasking.
creating. Yeah, that's exactly what I do in creating. If I'm in the bathroom, I'm on Canva too. I just have to
Truth
swap
comes out.
my phone for a book.
Love it. Oh my gosh. Well, Chris, I think that was all the questions I think I had to ask
I had
today.
that wasn't added. Because you are part of multiple things and you have multiple social media accounts. How do you manage that or advise managing that? Do you all do it yourself or do you use a scheduler?
Yeah, I do it myself. It's a combination. So sometimes I will set stuff up in like now Facebook, it's pretty easy to post through it to Instagram. So I will use their scheduling tool. Back in the day, I've used Hootsuite, Sprout Social, other things. I've run a lot of social media accounts for other companies, both in the corporate world and then in the pole dance world. What I found is really just if you like, I guess there's kind of two ways I'd run accounts. Like if it's like a community account and it's really more like reposting where you're like, oh, I'm just reposting, cool stuff. It's usually pretty easy. Like you wake up and you're like, cool, somebody tagged us, boop, repost. But if it's like more of that, you really need to figure out what you're doing, then I always have a schedule and I have those big, like, here's the date of the showcase, or here's when the sale is happening, or here's when the workshop. And then work backwards and be like, I got to promote this every so many days or make up shit. Like I like cues. So I started doing this thing called Cues Day where I give like a random cue for something. People have fucking loved it. And so it gives me something to do. I'm like, oh, it's Tuesday. I got to make a Cues Day post. Like, and then people expect it and it's fun. And so yeah, so I guess I will use a scheduler sometimes. And then also just mapping out content really helps me understand. So I'm not waking up the next, morning and being like, what am I going to talk about? And I do my social media in the morning. So that's why I always do it then, while I'm having my coffee.
Man, I was so sure you're going to be like, I have an assistant, but it's all still just you.
There is no assistant. Like there used to be this joke because I do my own bookkeeping. Like I do have some lawyer friends I have consulted with, but I would joke and my cat, he's now passed away. His name was Murphy. And I would tell people like, well, I have to confer with Mr. Murphy. And I would like, look at the cat and I'd be like, what do you think? Like, but it's me. I have no assistants. I have no and I'm hoping to change that because the workload and the growth is becoming a little bit untenable. And back to that, like, it would be nice to have a social life, or not work, or have the opportunity to not work, or not feel like, oh, I can't go away for a week and then everything, then things just don't get done. So I'm working on that. But yeah, for the past, since the beginning, the past 10 years, it's just been me. And for a while I had a whole nother business. I had another business and, muggled job. Like there was just a lot of, yeah. There was sleep, but there was zero social life.
Wow, you're so incredible. Like again, sorry I keep saying it, but it's just like I can't imagine. Like I have 4 part-time jobs at this point, and it's just a lot for me. And trying to run the studio. But I guess if you're doing all the things that you love, you just make time for it. And hell yeah. Thank you, Colleen.
Yeah, I think it's different for everybody, you know, like especially entrepreneur folks. Like, I don't want to say that doing it all yourself is the right answer, because sometimes it's not, you know, and I don't want to say hiring out for, and then kind of maybe losing touch with your business is the right answer either. You know, I think it's everybody kind of has to figure out, and then that's going to ebb and flow. Like, did you just get married? Did you have a baby? That's going to impact your ability to be really active in your business. Like, is a parent sick? Whatever. Like, so understanding how things might continue to change is something that I'm also dealing with, like watching my business change, like whether I like it or not, I'm going to need to get some help, because at some point, you know, you probably can't do all the things because you'll burn out, and then you won't be welcoming or creative, or, you know, everybody will just be like, go fuck yourself. No, no, no. And you'll miss collaborations and opportunities because you just can't handle anymore. And that's not, you know, burnout in entrepreneurs is really common. It can be really, really hard to be an entrepreneur. So finding those things that, you know, like light you up, and finding those things that you need for self-care, finding the people that can help support you. Maybe it's directly in your business, or just being a cheerleader friend who you text every so often, like whatever you need, but, you know, figuring it out will help you and your business.
Thank you so much for sharing that, and for being so candid about it as well. And I always learn so much from these interviews. I truly appreciate you sharing everything.
Burnout is a real thing. Is there anything else you would like to promote or share or advise? Anything else?
Check out all the links that will be in the show notes. You know, check out PoleCon, check out the IPIA, that's poleassociation.org. You'll find it on Instagram, you know, all the businesses on Instagram. You can check out my stuff, Mobility for Pole, and, you know, just keep in touch if there's something I can help you with. Or I run into a lot of folks in pole, so I'm always happy to like make connections and be like, oh, do you know so-and-so? I do. Like, how can I talk to them? I'm like, I'll send an email. That's easy. So I'm always happy to make those connections too, because that's how our, you know, networking and growing, we all, you know, I'm a very win-win person. So, you know, I'm here for us all to grow. I'm here for us all to, you know, if somebody's not the right student for me, maybe they're the right student for you, et cetera. So anyway, just, you know, talk to me. Yay.
And Cris, I just remembered we were going to ask, is that maybe that's how you go about it? We were wondering how you get so many wonderful sponsorships, because we were trying to get sponsorships for Pole in the Call. Do you just send people emails? Is that how it goes? Is it easy?
What is it? Simple, not easy. When I purchased PoleCon, I didn't realize that PoleCon had a really negative reputation, that the founder had pissed off a bunch of people. She had canceled the 2014 event, and that left a lot of people in a lurch. So I was not just starting from scratch. Like, I thought like, oh, I had this name that people would recognize. No, I was actually rebuilding a brand. So I spent a lot of time sending a lot of emails, and then going and visiting people in person to talk to them, and really not even to talk, but just to listen, to understand what their concerns were about the previous owner, and to understand how I wouldn't be the same person. And so it was until, I don't know, maybe last year, it has always been a battle to get exhibitors, to get sponsors, to get whatever. So I think, unfortunately, there's a slog of just talking to people, trying to continue to prove your value and why they might want to be around you. And then, you know, hopefully, eventually you get to the point where you have to tell people like, I'm sorry, we're sold out of sponsorships. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's crazy. But yeah, there's no secret sauce. I find that a lot of people have connections, like the way that a lot of things work is like, oh, my dad's brother's cousin runs the thing and they're willing to give you the thing. So a lot of life runs on those sorts of connections. And I don't think that's always a bad thing, certainly not if you're on the receiving end. So if you can kind of network and find those connections, sometimes those can help, but otherwise it's just a lot of like proving your value over and over and over again, which sucks because you know that what you do is valuable, but getting other people to see it and then spend their hard-earned money can feel impossible sometimes.
Yeah, well,
Thank you.
thank you for putting in that hard work and for sharing about it. Yeah.
I know. We're going through, we have so many questions because we're creating the first annual pole words, which we're super excited about. We just want to celebrate all pole dancers. So sponsorship was a big thing, how to pay for trophies, how to grow that from our, because this year is going to be virtual, but eventually, if it goes well, we would love to make it a live thing, celebrate pole dancers all over the world. So I truly appreciate you sharing that, the networking aspect, and really just getting to know people and showing our value and all of that. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
You're welcome. And it is just another note on that. It is when you're starting your own business, right? It's usually you have to put your own money in because there's no proof of concept, right? People are not going to be willing to send. Now there's definitely cases where people will, right? If you have a name in an industry already, or if you have a really compelling thing, but most of the time, so when I started PoleCon, like I purchased it from the previous owner. I paid way too fucking much money considering what a shit show the organization was left in, but I paid for it. And then I lost money on every PoleCon until 2022. Lost money. And we're talking lost from 6 figures lost. So now how did I pay for that? And there used to be a rumor going around that I was like, I don't know, like a princess or some rich white lady or whatever. I am not. I am a middle-class white lady. Thank you very much. I grew up really poor and then hustled, and I owned a business and I purchased property in times when in places where people weren't purchasing property. And anyway, so I had made very smart financial decisions that I blew the fuck up to pay for PoleCon. So I've had to rebuild my own personal, like my retirement saving, my, nest eggs and things, because this was something I kept investing in. Now, I probably should have stopped a couple years back, but I didn't. And my story is not going to be everybody's story, but I think that there are definitely ways to do it. I've seen people who have had very successful rounds of funding where they've got money from other people, and that's awesome. I'm much more the bootstrap. Like, what can I do myself? What can I do I have a 401k for my corporate job? Like, let me sell that. Like, okay, cool. Can I HELOC out my house? Yeah, let me do that. So, but everybody has to figure out their own decision. So if you're feeling like, oh, why is this so hard? It's not your imagination. What you're trying to do is fucking hard. Keep going. Make sure to take care of yourself along the way.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. It is really hard.
Yes. I do appreciate the honesty. You're right. Definitely invest in your business and yourself, which Mandy and I have learned and are continuing to learn.
Right. It is a labor of love, a lot. Well, I guess on that note.
I know, awkward silence.
I know. Thank you so much for sharing all of this information. Like I said, I learned so much just from listening to your story, and I'm just so inspired by all of the things that you are capable of doing just as one person. You're incredible. Thank you.
Yes, it goes to show that we all can do it. It would just take some work and dedication and some failure and learning, but we can all do it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Colleen, thank you so much for sharing your story, and thank you so much to everyone who's listening or watching this episode of Pole on the Call podcast. My name is Mændy Mac.
By Cris Rivers.
And I was the guest. I'm Colleen Jolly. Whee!
We're signing off.
Check out all the links below.